Good morning, everyone, and it's another video diary on the farm for the week. And what exciting things we're going to get to this week? Well, this week is mainly going to be winter wheat drilling. Now, we should, in theory, fingers crossed, weather permitting, we should get it done this week. However, yesterday was a glorious sunny day. Today, this morning, it's about 20 past 7:30, something like that. We're out in the field, which is behind the farm, and we've got it. Stephen come and got the fields limed for us yesterday, and today we're out in the fields with the Challenger. Ruben is subsoiling ahead of me. That's going to be drilling it. Now this is the last week that we've got this Verdostat, so we want to see how good this Verdostat is by whether or not we can get all of our winter wheat drilled. We may have a couple of fields of oats to do, but I'm not bothered if they don't go until the spring. For me, winter wheat, we've got to get that in. That's our sort of that's our breadwinner, if you like, and yeah, we need to get that, make sure we get that drilled. So as I say, Ruben's just set off this morning in front of me with the subsoiler. Now the subsoiler that's on the back of this, it's an 8-meter subsoiler. We don't own it, we've borrowed it. We've borrowed it from Webster's up in Lund. They had one in. We went for a couple of parts for our Massey Ferguson, and we saw this there while we were there, and we sort of said to them, is it available? Can we, are we able to have it? Are we, able to use it? And yep, it was in as a holding, so they were just holding on to it until it got to its final destination, and said that we were more than welcome to try it. So that's what we're doing. We're subsoiling, as I say, this land ahead of the drill, and once Ruben has done the headlands, I'll come in with the drill then, and then we'll get going. But yeah, it's a nice subsoiler actually, to be fair. We've not got it in exceptionally deep, so it's in about, I would hazard a guess at about 11-12 inches, so it's not massively deep, but at the same time, it's not shallow either. The Challenger definitely knows it's got it on the back, but as with everything, that Challenger just pulls. It doesn't ask questions, it just gets on with it and pulls. So yeah, it's it's one of those tractors that just sort of doesn't ask questions, it just does as it's told, and it just pulls and pulls and pulls. So yeah, Ruben's as I say, nice and busy. I'm just going to get out of his way, but yeah, so he's doing that. The potatoes are finished now. We've got George in the second potato field now. He is now subsoiling. So the little video that I showed you right at the beginning of this video was him in the wheat fields that were just over there in that direction. So where those two trees sort of stick out on the horizon, he was just over there somewhere. But yeah, so now he's ignore that. That's where we were. An independent company came to us with a machine and said, oh, you want to try it? And we tried it, and it's rubbish. And this is a channel that doesn't mince its words or pull no punches, holds no prisoners. If something's good, I tell you it's good. If something's bad, I tell you it's bad. And it was rubbish. And we very, very, very quickly sent that back. Now this bit here, around here, has become a bit of a parking lot. I don't really know why, but it has. It's become a bit of a parking lot. But the combine, that we're waiting for that to be picked up. So we're not doing nothing to that. They can just take it as they find it. The Massey Ferguson and the Richard Weston, you remember, was helping Dove Farms combine our linseed. This trailer's been left here because someone couldn't be bothered to put it away. As I say, Lord knows why that Massey Ferguson's there as well. Either I don't know. Do you know what? It really does look like rain, doesn't it? Oh dear, not another autumn like last year. And then, as I said to you as well in that little bit, or I may have said, I can't remember whether I did or not, but we hired a John Deere just to help us with one or two little bits because we had some contracting that we needed to do, and so we did hire a John Deere, and this is the state of the potato shed. And as you can see, we're sort of just filling in this section now, but we've stopped filling because we've been given a bit of a dilemma, and I will talk to you more about that dilemma when I'm actually on the tractor drilling. So just very quickly, we will see if we can see George. That tractor's going back today, by the way, the John Deere. That's going back today, but yeah, it's just finishing off what it was doing, which is obviously loading the conveyor belts. Now, somewhere in here is George, and he is mulching somewhere. Where are you, George? Right. Can anyone see him? He was in here. Honestly, I left him in here this morning. There he is. Yeah, so George is busy getting these mulched, and as I say, we'll be in here then drilling this one as well. So this field, if I can turn the camera around without making it slip out of my hands, that field over there, the other potato field, that field over there, the sugar beet field over there that you saw in the last episode. We haven't got the sugar beet in that field up yet, but that's mainly because we've got to get that sugar beet that's on that headland moved first, because that's where all the sugar beet's going, and we've run out of room. That one field filled that whole bit along the side of the road, so we've got that sugar beet field up there, that potato field up there as well that needs doing, and then just one or two other little areas that are coming winter wheat. But as I say, our combinable crop is, compared to this year, is going to be next to nothing. You know, we're fed up with it. You know, we're looking to go more vegetable than anything, and also as well because of the volatility of the potato market, we may be switching to just selling these potatoes as potatoes, and rather than grading them and then everything else, and then just buying in our seed, because it's, well, to be fair, to be really frank about it, at the moment we've no need to have all of that sat in that shed. We could have sold all of that and what's in our holding shed. The drill still hasn't been picked up yet, but we are told that they are coming this week for that, so hopefully. The rolls, obviously the rolls, we've still got to get quite a bit of rolling done as well, but we're sort of trying to save the rolling a little bit for when we've got all of the drilling done. Yeah, so anyway, that's a little update, and as I say, when I'm on the Challenger, I will talk to you on the Challenger, obviously, and there's some things I want to talk about, some things I want to discuss, and then that will end the video as well. So it will be sort of a bit of a ranty video, I think, but I'll see you in a little while. Bye for now. Okay, so here we are then, we're in the field, and we are now drilling, and as I said before, we're in here with Ruben. He is subsoiling this for us, and yeah, we're getting on rather well in here actually. It's gone much better than probably we could have hoped. I was a bit worried about this ground because it didn't seem to it didn't harvest very well. It was very bumpy and very what we call knotty. But as it was, it subsoiled quite nicely down and appears to be okay. But yeah, so now the footage at the beginning of the video, that what I sort of took before I started speaking of George mulching, I don't know whether that's going to be at the front of this video now or not, because I've sort of, while I've been sat here twiddling my thumbs waiting for Ruben to get in front a little bit, I've been trying to edit the video as I go on my phone, and it hasn't gone too well. So the footage at the beginning of George is it keeps breaking up and very juddery and very shaky and not that brilliant. So yeah, I don't know whether that's going to be included. I might be able to salvage something from it, because it was 15 minutes of me talking, but with the wind and everything else that's on the microphone, you can't really hear me talking. So whether I use it or not, I don't know. But I did say in the last little bit of talking that I did, that I had some things that I wanted to talk to you about. So the first thing is regarding quite a close friend of the farms. So over in that direction, over there, on the other side of our linseed fields and the wheat fields, to give you some sort of mapping and perspective of where I'm talking about, is Holme Wold Farm. Now, they're a lovely couple that live there, and they're getting, towards retirement. I'm sure they won't mind me saying that. We're very good friends with them, and as I say, they don't have any children that want to take on the farming business, and they've been quite anxious about it, and I know that for a year or two now it's been a case of, well, are they going to have to sell the farm and lose everything that their forefathers or John's forefathers at least had built up. Mary, a lovely lady, she married obviously into the family, and yeah, so they run a sort of a farm on a similar scale to ours. I think it's fair to say that probably their equipment hasn't kept with the times. They run fairly oldish machinery with the odd sort of new bit of machinery mixed in, and the last sort of 12 months, especially for us, has been challenging, and it's brought many problems and not many solutions, and and a real question. I mean, there was a particular video that I was watching back, one of the videos the other week, because there's a few things that I would like to talk about in these videos, and I was kind of making sure that I haven't already sort of spoken about them, and if I have already spoken about it, what have I said, and can I elaborate on that any further. And I was really down. I don't know if you can remember it. Ruben was subsoiling in what was the mustard fields, the 3 fields that we put together, and the combine had broken down again. And given all of the the year that we'd had and everything that had sort of gone on, that day I was really questioning why I wanted to be in farming. Why why the hell didn't I just get out and go to a job that was not reliant on so many different factors? And of course, John and Mary have been, like everyone else, we're not the only farm that's been suffering it. And in December last year, their farm flooded, and because their farm is up on the hill and our sort of land is at the bottom of that, so their water was sort of running down their hill, and it washed a lot of their topsoil away. It sort of damaged the farm. It did a lot of damage and a lot of issues for them. And all of the winter crops that they'd put in, and we do occasionally go over there and give John and Mary a hand. Occasionally if we've sort of got time or whatever, we will go over there and we will help them out. Like I said, we've got bigger equipment and we can get their work done, very quickly for them. And they're very appreciative, and they always look after us. And the two families have had a very good relationship for since I was a small child, growing up on this farm, and so we were very sad to hear at the end of last week, that or over the weekend, in fact, that John had unfortunately suffered quite a major heart attack, and is obviously very poorly. And some of the work that we've been doing over the last sort of week or so, I haven't got any footage, mainly because I've sort of not asked if they would mind me filming their land and what have you. So I haven't filmed any of it, but we have been doing a little bit of work for them and trying to help them. John looks as if he's going to be in hospital for the foreseeable future, and Mary had said that that this was there because they have, a bit like us, obviously, most farms, I'm sure this is the case on most farms, they have work plans, and so what happens with those work plans is it kind of sets out what you're doing when, and it's to try and sort of keep you on track a little bit. And this bit here is what we subsoiled with the new machine that someone wanted to demonstrate to us, that turned out to be not that brilliant, but it was a really wet patch in there, and we mold ploughed it and then subsoiled it, and we've also had some underfield drainage put in there as well to try and help it, and it drains off into those trees in front of us there. So she sort of said this is what needs doing and what have you, and she said you can use our equipment. Now they've got a vent 728, and they bought that vent second hand probably about 6-7 months ago, because like us, they've had a bit of a machinery nightmare where their combine, it's an old combine, but it's got a major issue, and essentially New Holland have sort of said it would be cheaper and easier probably in the long run for you to buy a new machine. Their 2-case 1455 XLs that they had that did the majority of their work were ruined in the flood. They lost them in the flood, and we're going to have to slow down a bit. We're catching Ruben up. They were ruined in the flood, and as I say, they've just since last autumn they've just had horrendous luck. And then, as I say, with John happening to John what has happened, I think it highlights that people see farms and farmers and think, oh, what an easy life, tractors and just driving up and down a field and this, that and everything else. And this year they've not, they lost all of their winter cropping that they'd done. Their spring crops were not the best yielding. It's left their farm in peril. To be quite sort of frank and honest and blunt about it, it's basically left their farm in real peril. And for me, it highlights the fragility of farming. That a couple of years ago, they've got the B&B that they run, the guest house that they run on the farm. They were doing all right. They were sort of making a bit of money, sort of money for them to live on, and not only that, but to put away for their retirement. And within the space of 12 months, the life has changed dramatically for them. And that's kind of the point of me bringing it up, is I want people to be aware that, it's not all tractor driving. It's not all, sunshine and flowers, as, a lot of people seem to think. These farms and the tractors on the roads and all of the machinery, that's people's livelihoods. Whether it be the tractor driver that's earning a wage out of driving the tractors, whether it's the tractors that are owned by the farmers. All of everything that you see to do with farming is someone's livelihood. Whether it be the food that we provide to someone's local factory or big company's factory, they rely on us, we rely on them. And so when, you kind of hear the comment that I heard the other day in the local shop of, oh, well, he's a farmer, he's got plenty of money, he'll just be able to buy all the best treatment that that he needs, really does anger me, because that really isn't the case for probably, I don't know, like 80% of the farms in the UK. That just isn't the case. You know, we're lucky. We're sort of farming. We're doing okay. Yes, we've had a rough year. The year, in terms of yields and stuff, has not been as bad as what we sort of predicted. We budgeted, and the budget that we kind of gave the farm and the fields and the crops and everything was enough that would keep us afloat for sort of, the next year. So it meant that over the next 12 months we could start to repair all of the damage that's been done, sort of 23-24, or the end of 23-24. And we would be able to, sort of then move on and move forward from that. That we're lucky, and not every farm, and as I say, John and Mary's farm has not been that lucky. And as I say, for everyone out there that sort of thinks, well, farmers, this, that, and everything else, it's that's not how it works. This is our livelihood. This is how we make money. This is how we feed our family. And you being held up by a tractor on the road, yes, I can imagine it must be really frustrating for you and inconvenient. But just remember, when you're going to McDonald's, when you're going through the drive-throughs at, either McDonald's or KFC or wherever it is, just remember that it was those tractors that got that produce to the outlets and the stores that you enjoy visiting. And without those tractors and without people like John and Mary that have sacrificed and worked all of their lives to provide, the amount of food that they've provided for the industry, and for the country, to then, be spoken to in a local shop about that. And I'm just pleased it was me that overheard that conversation and not Mary, because, as I say, that's far from the truth for them, unfortunately. That they're not in a position where, if that was the case, they would not be able to do it. And as I say, farmers need to be shown and given a little bit more respect, but not just from the general public. And this is rant number 2, from the government as well. So I mentioned a few episodes ago that we'd been approached by, what can I call? We'll call them, to be nice, we'll call them agencies. We'll try and be respectful and polite and all of that good stuff. So we were approached by agencies that basically wanted to agent us into turning 80 to 85% of our farm over to SFI. Now, SFI stands for Sustainable Farming Initiative, or Incentive, I think, actually. And what it basically means is that rather than growing crops, the government want to pay us to grow wild grass mixes, flower mixes for bees, birds, and all the other wonderful insects in this world. Now, don't get me wrong, they need to be looked after. But we got the figures at the end of last week of exactly what they want to pay us for 85% of our farm to not be growing food. And this is what, is important and needs to be remembered. This is for us not to grow food. Okay, this is for us to look after the birds, the bees, the beetles, and all of the other wonderful insects that are out there. Okay, and what the government want to pay us, bearing in mind this year we've had a fairly rubbish year. Okay, so we've not, we've this has not been a typical year for us. But if you take the, I'll be back in a second. Excuse me, I've got to take this. All right, sorry about that. That was the the grain merchant. As you can see, I've been sat there for so long that Ruben has left the field. But yeah, things to discuss. But yeah, so we're back and drilling. Yeah, so as I was saying, the SFI, and they want us to put sort of between 80 and 85% into SFI, and to put that into some sort of context, this year, through growing crops, outlaying sprays, sort of etc., 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 we've made, we think, this isn't a sort of, but this is a projection, not what we have made. So roughly this year, we think we're probably going to make about 860 some odd £1,000 profit. Normally, we would be looking towards sort of 1.1, 1.2 million pound in terms of profit. But like I say, yields have been dramatically down. A lot of our winter crops didn't survive. All of our winter wheat didn't survive in terms of, well, the total amount that we planted, what we actually harvested and what you saw us harvest was, in all fairness, a very small sort of minority of that, because a lot of it didn't survive. So a lot of it went over to oats, linseed, which is a crop that we do sometimes grow as a break crop, but it's not always. Our peas and our beans, our winter beans didn't survive, so therefore we had to put in spring beans, and one field of them survived and one field of peas managed to survive. So as I say, in total we got about 800 and sort of anywhere from sort of 850 to probably 870, somewhere in there is probably where we're going to end up on in terms of profit. And that, to turn the land that would be the equivalent of all of the winter wheat, the potatoes, the beans, the peas, over to SFI, bearing in mind that, as I say, across the whole farm we're about 860 or whatever, sort of somewhere in that ballpark as profit. The government want to pay us 1,025,000 to not grow food. That is what is on offer to us, and that means the only output that we're going to have is the diesel to drill it, because as it's part of sort of what can I say, wildlife initiative, if you like. Obviously, I see farms on YouTube doing it all the time, saying, oh, we're putting 600 acres into SFI, and there they are with Simba solos and plows and everything, ripping up the land and preparing it like they're preparing the seedbed for winter wheat. And I sort of think, so you're planting this crop to be paid because you're protecting the beetles, the bees, the wasps, the everything, and the birds and everything, yet in order for you to put that crop in to help them thrive, you've destroyed their homes by ploughing, subsoiling, cultivating, power harrowing and everything. It doesn't make sense to me that you would pay farmers to grow this stuff to protect the wildlife, but yet farmers decide to destroy all of the wildlife in their fields and all the insects by sort of, ploughing the land. It didn't make no sense to me. And as I say, I've seen several farmers on YouTube, sort of, as I say, soloing or subsoiling or ploughing or, doing whatever. Whereas for myself, we would take the stubble, we would take the stubble and we would direct drill into that and just let the grass mixes and the flower mixes grow from there, so that we would literally have next to no input costs. And if the ground got flooded and that flower mix failed, well, we'd be covered because we can't help flooding. So it kind of does put into question, what does this British government expect from us farmers when they're paying us more to not grow food than what they pay us to grow food? It really is a worrying time in farming at the moment, and I'm not very what can I say? I'm not very happy. I'm a bit disillusioned, because again, it kind of leaves you with the thoughts of, well, why am I doing this? Why am I? Why is sort of my dad and everyone around me sort of training me to be a farmer? And the government are kind of saying, don't farm. No, 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 don't farm. Plant some flowers. Take the money. Go on holiday for the year. Because you're not allowed to apply no sort of, sprays or pesticides or insecticides, because again, that's going to be, you know, that's going to be, sort of in contradiction to what you're trying to do. So you're just expected to put this in and leave it. And if it is a grass mix that you do decide to put in, and remember, you get to choose what you put in, and depending on what you put in varies how much it's worth to you as a farm. But let's just say you're a dairy farm and you sort of think, well, I need hay and I need silage, and like us, let's just say you're sort of bordering 1,000, maybe just 1,500 acres. Well, you drill it all grass mix. You're allowed one cut each year, so you're allowed to cut it once each year to make hay or silage or whatever from it. So you cut it, say, late September, early October, for maybe a bit of hay, or just all silage it. You got paid for not doing nothing in that field all year. Then you got paid for the milk or whatever it is that your animals are. It's a no-brainer, and this is why a lot of farms in the UK are sort of turning their back on growing food and sort of saying, well, do you know what? Actually, there's no money in food. There's lots of money in little beetles and weevils and ladybirds and stuff like that, and that's what they're doing. And I think it's a crying shame. And I think in a few years' time, this country is going to be in a desperate situation. And as I've said previously as well, God forbid there should be a war that breaks out. We're not going to be self-sufficient. We are not growing nowhere near enough food to feed this island. And that's the sad state of it. And if a war did break out, we would be in real peril. God forbid, I hope it doesn't happen. Of course I do. I don't want to see any wars in, sort of my lifetime or whatever. But it's a volatile world that we're living in at the moment. And as I say, we're being told, oh, don't grow food. Grow flowers, grow grass. And that it's terrible. And whilst I've sort of kind of in a way summarised everything, and but that's the reality. That is the reality. And going back to John and Mary, Mary has kind of said to me, well, should I put it all over to flowers and grasses and stuff like that? Should we? We don't have any animals, so we wouldn't need to cut it. I wouldn't need to, whatever. As I say, they bought the vent to replace their two cases. The vent has since gone wrong. It needs a new steering pump. It needs a new gearbox. It's they've basically bought not a very good second-hand tractor, and they're now going to sort of pay the price for that as well. So it does, honestly, it does get me down, because these are good, honest, hard-working people that are trying to do the right thing by themselves, by their families, by the British people, and getting absolutely no thanks for it whatsoever. As I say, myself, Ray, who has who has actually said that he would quite like to be on a YouTube video. So we'll have to get Ray on at some point. He's not here today. Ray is elsewhere today. So we've got, as I've said, we've got Ruben on the subsoiler. We've got George on the mulcher. Dad has gone away on holiday for a fortnight. What's his name? Ray. Sorry, Ray, if you're listening to this. Ray is I don't know what he's doing. He just said he wanted a couple of days off, so he's had a couple of days off. But I mean, he only really helps us out when we're busy anyway, so it's not a case of he's full-time or anything, because he's not. But we might get him back to do a little bit of ploughing, a little bit of winter ploughing. We've got sort of quite a bit that we want to catch up on. We've got all that land in front of us there to sort out. So all that land, actually, if you do get to see the first bit, if I can salvage some of the footage from it, I talk about the top farm, or top of the farm. Now, top of the farm, if ever I refer to that and you think, what the hell is he talking about? The land that you see in front of us, directly in front of us, and then beyond that one, beyond the other hedgerow, because there's a road that runs between those two fields that you can see directly in front. That's what we call top farm. So that's top of the farm, and that's where we've, as I say, that was where most of our wheat was, and that was what yielded fantastically. Our beans, not so brilliant. Our peas, rubbish. But the wheat up there, very good. Yeah. But as I say, it's been a bit of a different video today to what I normally do. Normally I'm sort of showing you around, but there's not much going on. I say George is mulching. You've seen loads of sort of videos of that. Ruben, as you saw, he was in the field with me. He's subsoiling. We're about to get ready to go off to another field. I think Ruben has just stopped for his morning cup of tea. As I say, I'm going to go around now back home. I'm going to go and have my coffee and cake, and then I'll be back this afternoon, or I'll be back later this morning, and I'll bring some lunch with me, and we'll get the rest of it drilled. I'm hoping today I might get pretty much all of the winter wheat drilled, but those clouds as are hanging around, and that one in particular looks like it might be full of water, or as my little nephew says, looks like that cloud's about to cry. Yeah, it does talk. There is rain forecast for today, but I'm hoping it's going to be later today. But we've got this one done. As I say, the next one is that one over there, and that one over there. Then hopefully we can get the sugar beet one done move over to the other potato field, and then we've got another sugar beet field there, but that's not going to be lifted for another week or so, maybe a couple of weeks. I don't know when Stephen gets back. He's elsewhere at the moment, lifting sugar beets, so he's busy away. But yeah, as I say, bit of a different video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Hopefully, you know, the work on the farm now is beginning to slow down now considerably. You know, next time I'll probably do an update of us drilling, you know, and so you'll see footage of what's been happening through the week, and I might even try and put out a sneaky little video midweek of just what we kind of got up to, you know, and maybe time lapse it with some music of all the drilling that we got up to. But yeah, so hopefully you've enjoyed it, and thanks ever so much for listening. I would just like to say we've got 12 subscribers now, which is absolutely brilliant. So as always, tick and subscribe, that would be fantastic. And although I said it in the last video, a massive thanks to Dove Farms for coming to do the linseed for us. It really was a massive help, and you know, who knows, maybe in the future there might be some more work done, you know, sort of either way. But yeah, and the last thing to say is we bought this and we haven't got to use it. Absolutely brand spanking new, and we've not used it, but there is a little bit of land that we are going to be using it on. So the sugar beet land is going to be dragged first and then subsoiled. So we are going to do it, and we bought this more for the spring rather than the autumn. So you know, this will get used more in the springtime, and we're sort of ready to drill any spring crops that we want to drill. So like, you know, if we do sugar beet, that's something else that I'm going to be talking about in another update. Sugar beet and the future, not only for us but for the country and for British Sugar. As a little bit of a tidbit for you to come back and watch again, we probably won't be growing sugar beet. That's not confirmed. That's just a brief conversation that I had with Dad before he went on holiday, and yeah, we might not be growing sugar beet. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign off here, and I will see you next week for the proper update. And as I say, maybe if I get enough time, I'll do a time-lapse video in the week of us drilling and doing other jobs. But bye for now, and thanks ever so much for watching.